killed, another wounded in Clarendon.
Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true.
Wounded in Race Course, Clarendon on Thursday evening. The deceased is 25-year-old Hakeem Thompson, otherwise called Logan, a fisherman of Banks in the parish. A 35-year-old man has been admitted in serious condition. According to the police report, Mr. Thompson and the other man were walking in Coffers District when three vehicles, including a white Toyota Probox motor car, pulled up to their feet. Men alighted with guns and started firing at them. They were chased into nearby bushes and shot. Mr. Thompson was pronounced dead at hospital and the other man admitted. Reporters were informed that both men were on the police radar for involving in various criminal activities, including drugs, murders and shootings. Another curfew for Vital Dunkirk in Kingston. A 48-hour curfew has been imposed in sections of Dunkirk in Kingston Eastern Police Division. The curfew in the Brownstown community started at 6 p.m. and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Sunday. The area has seen a flare-up in gang-related violence in the recent weeks. A curfew was imposed in October following a triple murder, and on Wednesday, a man and his nephew were shot dead in the area. The boundaries of the curfew are north along Cumberland Avenue and Lincoln Avenue from Upper Elliston Road to North Avenue, east along North Avenue from Cumberland Avenue to West Avenue, south along Windward Road from West Avenue to Upper Elliston Road, west along Upper Elliston Road from Windward Road to Cumberland Avenue. During the hours of the curfew, all persons within its boundaries are required to remain within their premises for 48 hours, unless otherwise authorized by the Ground Commander. JTE says some schools affected by bomb scare given all clear. The Jamaica Teachers Association JTE said some schools which were affected by bomb threats have been given the all clear to resume normal operations next Monday. JTA President Leighton Johnson is urging all education stakeholders to not take any threat lightly and to remain on alert. He said some schools which were affected are waiting on the security forces to complete their checks.
There were a second series of bomb threats that were issued and levied on schools. And the position is that, we continue to urge administrators to exercise the highest level of vigilance in ensuring that as best as possible, none of these threats are taken lightly. Of course, we want to believe that these pranks are what we call hoax. For whatever reason, the mastermind wants to keep the police and other first responders occupied in this manner. We do not know, but as a nation, we have to be on the alert. I believe these hoax do have the potential to destabilize the education system because it will present additional anxieties for administrators, for teachers, for students, for parents. Because, we do not want to be in a position where any of these threats actually become a reality. We just ask everybody to, as best as possible, remain as calm as they can be and allow the security forces to do the necessary checks to ensure that schools can reopen and as best as possible we can have some semblance of normalcy returning to the system come Monday. What I do know is that, of course, I am waiting to get a response from sources as to the nature of the meeting today, but what I can assure is that for the most part, those schools that were checked yesterday into this morning were given the clearance to resume regular operations. And we hope that for the other schools that received threats today, they too will get clearance for the resumption of regular operations for Monday into the following week.
Government facing legal challenge over alleged failure to provide adequate early childhood spaces. An opposition lawmaker is preparing to take the government to court to get a declaration on whether it has breached Section 13K of the Charter of Fundamental Rights. The particular provision declares it is a right of every child who is a citizen of Jamaica to publicly funded tuition in a public education system at the pre-primary and primary levels. In his State of the National presentation in the Upper House on Friday, Senator Damon Crawford said he has engaged legal counsel to seek a declaration from the court that the government, through its failure to construct sufficient pre-primary institutions across the 14 parishes of the country, abrogates, and infringes the guaranteed constitutional rights set out in the Constitution. We want for the courts to tell us if it is constitutional based on Section 13K that a child with a right to a government institution is not being robbed of that right if the government at the early stage of 0 to 3 has 6% of spaces, and the second stage of 3 to 6 has 15% of space he contended. According to Crawford, of the 2,676 early childhood institutions that apply for registration, it is reported that only 408 or 15.2% are identified as public institutions fully funded by the government. How could 15% satisfy that right, he questioned. Tougher measures coming for possession of firearms, says Holness. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced forthcoming amendments to the Firearms Act aimed at combating the escalating threat of illegal weapons. This comes in the wake of triple murder in Salt Springs, St. James, where 2 boys and a man lost their lives. Holness, on a visit to the children's schools, Chetwood Memorial Primary and Infant on Thursday, to console the distressed students and teaching staff, told journalists that these amendments will be designed to bring about even stricter measures against the possession, use, trading, and trafficking of firearms. In fact, he noted that such barbarity cannot be allowed to continue and assured the government is intensifying efforts to combat such horrific incidents. The public is going to see that even stronger measures are going to be applied to the firearms and illegal use of possession of firearms, Holness stated. In fact, we have already started to increase the penalties for murder and, in particular, capital murder. In our system, the way to separate them is to give them long sentences and take them out of the space. Short of the death penalty, this is the next best thing, he added. Emphasizing the need for greater penalties and consequences for those involved in such crimes, he outlined a multifaceted approach that not only targets criminals directly, but also aims to dismantle the supporting network that chased them. He said cracking down on criminal ecosystems is also atop of government's agenda, asserting that knowing the whereabouts of criminals without reporting it makes individuals complicit in the perpetration of the crime. There is an ecosystem of crime that has to be tackled. The truth is that someone must have known. Someone knows where the criminals are, and they are equally guilty for not sharing it with the authorities, he stated. So whilst we focus on the actual criminals and perpetrators, we must also seek to dismantle the ecosystem that supports it, because as we increase sophistication of our investigative capacity, we are not only going to pinpoint the criminals, but we are also going to start to pinpoint the people who know, he stated. Holness urged the community to break the silence and assist the authorities in identifying those responsible for the recent heinous act. He emphasized the significance of coming forward with any information and stressed the legal obligation to do so, as well as the role it plays in eradicating the protective shields around criminal elements. So we are going to be targeting the criminal definitely. There will be a tougher penalties for the possession of weapons and tougher penalties for committing the actual crime. The ecosystems that protect the criminals must also be dismantled, he outlined. When it is the murder of children, it sinks us to a new low, and for this particular crime to be committed, it adds another dimension to create fear. It is a stain on our entire consciousness, and it is an assault on our sensibilities, stated Holness.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell